There's something pretty strange about today's comparison, because the Sony FX6 and the Sony ZV-E1 are not really competitors. They're not even in the same category, and yet they share a sensor, or certainly a very closely related one, which means in theory they should be able to produce a very similar image. So the question becomes, if the image is pretty much the same, what are you actually paying for? Because these two cameras sit at completely opposite ends of the spectrum. One is a fully fledged, purpose-built cinema camera, designed to be part of a system, to be rigged, powered, monitored, and trusted. The other, kind of the opposite. Tiny, lightweight, slightly compromised, but still strangely capable. And in my case, the one that actually leaves the house much more often. So I ended up doing something a bit unusual. I shot the same project, or two very similar shoot days at least, one on the FX6 and one on the ZV-E1. No charts, no lab conditions, no scientific rigor. This is kind of vibe-based testing, but in a fairly unforgiving environment. Before we get into the shoot, it's probably worth explaining why this comparison even exists. Because the FX6, for me, mostly lives in the studio now. It's so good at being set up, audio, power, monitoring, that once it's dialed in, it just kind of stays there. And that's completely intentional, because removing setup friction makes it much easier to create something, especially when you're making YouTube content every week. So the FX6 is my studio A cam, the A7S III is the studio overhead cam, which means the ZV-E1 is the packaging of that incredible sensor that leaves the house with me. Same general look, completely different experience. And all three instances of that sensor can produce the same general look, although the user experience is very different. This is an ongoing project with my local rowing club. Pilot gigs, which are traditional wooden boats, they were originally used to take harbour pilots out to ships. Now they're raced. Seriously raced. Falmouth has multiple World Championship titles to its name, which sounds really grand until you realise that the world, in this instance, is mostly competitive Cornish crews with the occasional boat from further afield. Still, the rowers involved are incredibly committed athletes. And also, it's one of those projects that sits pretty close to pro bono. They've been with me a long time. It's a joy to shoot. Water, movement, a camera, pretty hard to complain, and it's been a great testing ground for kit for me over the years. It's probably worth saying why I didn't take the Komodo X, because that would have been a great choice, but the issue is weight. Built out, it's somewhere between 7 and 8 kilos, and that just doesn't really fit this job very well. There was always going to be scrambling around, from chase boat to pilot gig, moving through the boat, stepping over oars, stepping over rowers, everything shifting underneath you, and that's the sort of environment where balance really matters. And pilot gigs are inherently quite unstable, and I wasn't particularly keen to risk my primary source of income for the sake of pretty marginal gains. So, for once, the best camera stayed at home. For the first shoot day, I took the FX6 and built it into a shoulder rig. Extension arm, rosette, a few bright tangerine bits. It actually came together pretty nicely. In isolation, it worked really well. The FX6 is just a pretty extremely well-rounded piece of kit, but the environment was a problem. A smaller chase boat than usual, with a much more aggressive motion, especially vertically. And the shoulder rig, in this case, became a bit of a liability, because it was transmitting that movement straight into the camera. Lots of Z-axis movement, a lot of shock loading, much more than I could realistically control for. So some of the footage works, but a lot of it doesn't. And this is the bit that surprised me. It wasn't that the camera wasn't good enough, it's that sort of I'd accidentally built out the wrong system for that environment. And so for the second shoot day, I thought I'd try something completely different. ZV-E1, internal stabilization, dynamic active. Both days shot at 50p, just to give myself a bit of room, and monitoring it live, which I was using via the monitor and control app on the phone, it looked really great, really stable, really usable. And then I got into the edit, and it very quickly became clear that we'd pushed the stabilization system way beyond what it can actually handle. Which makes sense, of course. It was a pretty extreme test, but still a bit frustrating, because in the moment, it really looked like it was working well. And I think that's quite an important point. Monitoring is not necessarily the reality of the footage. There's a lot of stabilization that looks convincing in real time, and then sort of falls apart a bit when you actually review the footage properly. What I actually found to be the biggest difference wasn't IBIS, it was how the camera was being held. With the FX6, I was committed to a shoulder rig. Rigid connection, movement goes straight through you into the camera. With the ZV-E1, I could just hold it. Two hands, and you kind of let things float a bit, and your arms absorb a lot of that motion. It's definitely not perfect, but it's noticeably better. And that's not because the camera is better, it just gave me more flexibility. In terms of the actual image, there's not much in it, as you'd expect. Both produce a really pleasing image. The FX6 does have advantages, auto ND being the big one, which I immediately missed when I forgot to put an ND on the ZV-E1. So exposure ended up being managed on iris alone, which worked. It was a little bit scrappy, kind of on brand. If you're enjoying this slightly haphazard filmmaking confessionals, especially if you like the kind of real-world, slightly chaotic testing practices, please consider subscribing. It tells YouTube to show you the next one. And if you want to see more of this sort of thing as it's happening, behind the scenes, bits that are never going to make it into the full videos, the occasional mistake in real time, I post more of that over on Instagram where I'm Jack filmed. So back to my original question, which camera is actually better for this specific job? I think the frustrating answer is neither of them are ideal. The best solution would be something like a FlowCine black arm, some kind of inertia-based stabilization, neither of which I have. But within those constraints, I think it's probably still the FX6, and I realise that that answer might not be immediately obvious, because there's definitely an argument that some of the ZV-E1 footage is much more pleasing. The FX6 is just a more complete tool. It's been thought through, gives you confidence, and in environments like this, unpredictable, chaotic, that confidence matters much more than marginal difference in image. Because once the image is good enough, the camera that wins is the one that lets you cope with reality, not the one with the best specs, not even the one with the nicest image, the one that lets you stay in control when things stop being controlled. For context, I'm reasonably comfortable working in environments like this. Between the fishing project and my time as a lifeboat helm, I'm used to operating in high-trust environments on the water. And even then, even with that experience, this pushed both cameras beyond what they really wanted to be doing, which is probably the most useful takeaway. There's an enormous amount of technology in these cameras, but in the wrong environment, you're still just a guy on a small boat trying to stay upright. I'm Jack. Whatever this is, I'm calling Western Approaches. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.